On November 11th, 1918, the bloodiest war the world had ever seen came to an end. The entire world celebrated the end of 4 long years of killing, but the suffering would continue, as the world was experiencing the second wave of the deadly Spanish influenza pandemic. Millions who had escaped the Great War were now dying from the virus. But how did we get here? The entire world was getting ready for conflict in 1914. Dr. Guy Carleton Jones of the Canadian Army had other concerns, writing, "The trail of infected armies leaves a sad tale of sickness amongst the women and children and non-combatants. Laws and regulations may govern the conduct of war, but disease and infections recognize no such laws and refuse to signal out the combatant only. To follow the disease from the start, we go here, Haskell County, Kansas in February 1918, where some of the first recorded cases show up. No one knows where the virus came from, but historians do agree that it was in Haskell where the virus made its first recorded contact with the civilian population. Reports from the region show many townspeople coming down with pneumonia-like symptoms. One newspaper reads, "Most everybody over the country is having leg grippe or pneumonia." From Haskell, it is believed to have spread to Camp Funston, where in March 1918, 48 soldiers died of an unknown respiratory disease. The Spanish media were the first to report it, earning it the nickname Spanish Influenza. And by June, the virus had arrived at the Western Front and was wreaking havoc. Poet Wilfred Owens describes the virus's effect on the front lines. About 30 officers are smitten with the Spanish flu. The hospital overflowed on Friday. Then the gymnasium was filled, and now all the place seems carpeted with huddled, blanketed forms. The boys are dropping on parade like flies in number. As summer wore on, more outbreaks appeared, and the medical community began to take notice, but officials ignored these signs. During August at Camp Devens, an outbreak appeared in camp. Victor Vaughn, the dean of the University of Michigan School of Medicine, was present for the outbreak, writing, "I saw hundreds of young, stalwart men in uniform coming into the wards of the hospital. Every bed was full, yet others crowded in. Vaughn would recommend that troops should not be transported from the camp, but he was ignored. Army officials packed the ships with troops who were coming down with the disease, and as a result, thousands died. Officials all over would ignore the warning signs of a coming pandemic. They appeared to be more concerned about stopping panic rather than transmission." In Minneapolis, the health commissioner wrote, "Spanish flu does not exist in Minneapolis, and it never has." The commissioner would soon be proven wrong. Even as outbreaks appeared more frequently, officials still ignored the signs as public gatherings continued to take place in cities everywhere, the most infamous being a parade in Philadelphia that attracted a crowd of thousands of people, all unaware of the invisible danger that was being spread. Only days later, thousands of cases would appear, and in a week, 4,500 were dead. Outbreaks like Philadelphia happened all over the world, and they could have been avoided, and the infection rates could have been flattened. In St. Louis, the health commissioner closed down public spaces on October 7th, after cases started increasing rapidly. By December, St. Louis had only around 3,000 deaths, while Philadelphia was at nearly 14,000. Perhaps if officials would have paid more attention to the signs of the coming pandemic, this spike could have been lower. The spike represents the second wave, where the virus spread rapidly. During the second wave, the virus mutates to become far deadlier. In some cases, the patient would die on the same day that symptoms appeared. By the end of the pandemic, 50 million were dead. Knowing all of this begs the most important question. If they knew about what was coming, how were they caught off guard?